What is up, Steel Horde? Jake, Steven, and Ryan here with our full spoiler review of The Wolf's Call by Anthony Ryan. So we just wrapped up our non-spoiler review in which we gave the book a 7.5 out of 10. And now we're going to be talking full spoilers, including spoilers for the first Raven's Shadow trilogy, which obviously you should have read if you are reading this book. So we're just going to run right into spoilers for the book. And what we like to do at Phantology is kind of talk through the eyes of different characters. And we will talk through the plot focused on, see what the characters are up to. And at the end, we will kind of talk about who our favorite characters were. And I'm being told from Jake and Ryan that I may get roasted here as they are going to bring up some points from my Goodreads review of the book, which apparently I wrote a long review for.
We went over this, but you can never really trust Goodreads reviews, right? But they're always fun to kind of throw back in the reviewer's face. So we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's talk with our favorite character, probably, I don't know, my favorite character, Vaelin Al Sorna. So one of the things in my Goodreads review that I talked about was Vaelin Al Sorna is rejuvenated and he's much cooler and he's back to being awesome like he was in Bloodsong before he got nerfed at the end of Tower Lord. And I think this on its own, just the fact that Vaelin is cool again, like this makes the book worth reading because I'm someone who just kind of likes these. I mean, even if they're overpowered, I like these BA type characters. You can just do it all.
See, I would disagree with that. I mean, I think that he's good, but he's not back to himself in Bloodsong because he lost his Bloodsong. And that's a little bit frustrating because he can't just read situations so well. He can't like command his soldiers in a battlefield as well as he could because he had that magical instinct that was almost like a premonition
That's true.
in battle. And so he's not quite back to the Vaelin Al Sorna that we know and love, but he is still, I think, a very competent swordsman. And so he's fun to read in that sense.
But at least he's doing stuff. He's not just tramping through the northern reaches for pages and pages.
He's just tramping through the merchant kingdoms for pages and pages. Is my take.
Yeah, well, he's got
and I
fair.
think the urgency of him tramping through the northern reaches was knowing there's going to be this big battle he has to be there for, and the urgency here is you just want him to see Sherin again, just not as big as stakes. Didn't feel.
I don't know. Sherin is bigger stakes to me than some big battle.
I was more interested in like seeing their reaction, but I can deal with tramping because I know there's going to be an epic climax at the end. But tramping to meet up with a character again, there wasn't really any big moment.
There's also the stakes of that he's got to confront Kell Brand and the Steel Horde is bad, and you get that from the Lurelin interludes, and so I think there's that at least. Like there's something larger going on too.
Yeah, I guess like the pacing of it felt weird. I couldn't tell, like they focused so much on exploring this Jade Kingdom or Merchant Kingdom. I can't remember if it is the Jade Kingdom they're in.
Jade Empire, right?
Jade Empire.
Hopefully.
And then like they talk a lot about the Jade Princess and like all this stuff. And it's like, I just remember feeling like I don't really care about this part here because I know this is just transitory, at least for this part of the plot. So like, let's get to Sherin, let's get to the Jade Princess, and let's get to the Steel Horde. That's how I felt for most of the book.
Okay, before we go too far ahead, we will talk about these things, but let's just start with the beginning. So the beginning, the hook was, Sherin has been taken and the Steel Horde is a problem. And so we've got to go.
And there's like the evil dark creature thing is back. It's different, but
the witch's bastard.
Yeah, the messenger witch's bastard guy turns up. He's an assassin as he's trying to take out some of these Merchant Kingdom guys. And so there's something bigger going on, but we don't know what it is yet. So I think, Jake, you said in the non-spoiler review, this hook was pretty good for you.
Yeah, it was. I really liked the idea of that kind of creepy, dark, you don't know like what the antagonist is for most of Bloodsong, like what even the abilities are. And And so I like that they brought that back, because I felt like at the end of Queen of Fire, it was wrapped up too quickly. I understand kind of what they did, but it felt like the big bad seemed so bad. And then once you kind of like saw him and he was handled, it was like, oh, it was just like, it wasn't as, I was expecting like a dark one a la like Wheel of Time or like Sauron type entity. And it turned out to be more of a, something
like
that
defeated fairly easily in the end. Yeah.
And so that was a disappointment with how Queen of Fire ended the Raven Shadow trilogy. So I was excited for them to bring back this element that I thought was so cool and maybe expand upon it. So for me, it was a big hook to get the book started.
So, and the Witch's Bastard kind of sets it up. He says, "Oh yeah, you defeated the ally, but now you've woken up something so much worse."
Yeah,
and that sets it up. Although looking at the structure of the first trilogy, the first trilogy is a trilogy, meaning it has 3 books, and now you're facing a much worse, bigger enemy, but it's only a duology. In my mind, it's like, well, if he's really that bad, how can it be wrapped up in 2 books?
The first book doesn't even really bring him up very much. To jump to the end, but
which is why I felt like a lot of the book was just like, come on, let's get to the action, like get to the important parts. But yeah, and the Sherin part, really good hook. It did kind of give me whiplash from beginning of Blood Song. We kind of mentioned this in the non-spoiler review. I'm expecting, we're going to see Sherin again. But then Queen of Fire, I'm like, okay, I guess we're not going to see Sherin again. Like, I can kind of accept that. I respect that decision. But now it's like, oh no, we are getting Sherin again. So excited, but also frustrated, not knowing what to expect there.
To quote Michael Scott, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Exactly. Yeah. Snip, snap. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So then we're off. We're off into the far east, right? Do they call it the far east? It's essentially
the far west. It's the far west, but it is the far east.
It is, right? It's a little bit of speculative fiction where like it's not too hard to see that these guys are basically China and the Steel Horde is basically like the Mongols and Genghis Khan. Yeah, which is kind of a fun way to do it. I like that, and it kind of ties in a little bit to like R.F. Kuang's Poppy World. That's a stronger connection.
I couldn't decide if it was something I really liked or was kind of bugged by it, just because it seemed too copy pasted. Whereas I feel like the Dothraki in Game of Thrones were a little more their own. I don't know, but.
Yeah, one trope that I don't always love is essentially like the Dothraki type trope, the horse people, the uncivilized guys who then you meet them and you're like, oh, these guys like actually know something really important, or they have something that you wouldn't expect the civilized people need from them, like kind of these mysterious, I guess, uncivilized. Yeah, not a trope that I always love, and so I'm okay with it here. Yeah, didn't love it, didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we go into the middle part of the story, which it sounds like, Jake, you said was just kind of transitory for you. They get embroiled in these local politics right away. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Pirates of the Caribbean, the third one, when they're in Singapore and they're meeting kind of these pirate lords and they're sneaking around in these shanty town type things. At one point, they're going through the sewers.
It gave me a similar vibe of more like Indiana Jones, where you're just like, okay, this is like the new adventure. We're exploring this like new area. That's how I kept trying to like justify it to myself. Like, no, this is okay. This is fine. Like, let's get to know this area and like these people. And I did like the idea that as soon as he gets there, like he's like basically owes service to the emperor, right? Like he kind of like falls into his debt right away. But
you liked that?
I thought I was like, oh, this could be like an intriguing plot point. It hasn't, for the rest of the book, nothing happened in it. So I don't know how it goes on further, but
well, he did a little bit. I mean, he ended up fighting with Shosai and Cylin and all those other guys. So he was fighting for the Empire.
He was but I mean, he would have been fighting that for that side anyways to stop Kell Brand. Like,
yeah, that is one criticism, right? Because in the first trilogy, one of the more compelling things was, this is Vaelin's home, and we like the unified realm, and this is, he's fighting. It's like a patriotism thing, right?
yeah.
And now we're like, why is he doing this? He doesn't care about these guys, and we don't care really about them either, because as the readers, we have no background with these guys.
Yeah, it seemed kind of like they had to rush it. Like, look how cool this is, and now care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But,
he only cares about it because of Sherin.
yeah, and I think he cares. I think he cares about it because of Sherin, and also he sees Kell Brand as a threat that needs to be ended.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He does see Kell Brand. If Kell Brand takes over the merchant kingdoms, then he's gonna come to the unified kingdom next.
Yeah, and just the fact that he's like meddling with the dark in such a profane way.
Let's jump ahead in Vaelin's plot a little bit and get to the part where he rescues Sherin. I think one thing that's kind of funny throughout the beginning of the book is Vaelin's so convinced he's off there to rescue Sherin. He's like, oh, Sharon's in trouble, I'm gonna go help her. And then they finally get there, they chase him down, which was a fun scene. And the first thing Sherin says to him is like, oh, great, you ruined everything, go away, you loser.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
A good little twist there. And I think it was needed, because we needed Sherin to be a strong female lead as well, and not just the damsel in distress.
Yeah,
and she's not just welcoming back in with open arms, like, I've missed you, I never thought I'd see you again. In fact, she's got a romance with
Shosai,
which is interesting, and Vaelin's almost an intruder this.
Yeah, Vaelin's like a little jelly here.
It's like, wait, go away so you'll be safe, and then, but I'm supposed to just wait and not do anything, not knowing if you're going to come back. So that was, it was good that they actually, Anthony Ryan actually like thought about how the characters would evolve over time apart, and that it wouldn't just be pick back up right where it was.
Yeah.
I will say I have some questions about the Jade Princess, and don't go into spoil. I haven't read Black Song, so no, it's not going to be any spoilers for Black Song. But when we're first introduced to her, she seems kind of mysterious. It seems like her and Sherin, or like it seems like the Jade Princess has a plan. Sharon's kind of going along with it, and now Vaelin is just like, I'll go along too because I need to be with Sherin and make sure she's okay. But like the Jade Princess was always kind of like, like, who is she really serving? And then
she's super enigmatic. You have no idea what this character is really.
And then when she is skipping ahead to where like she sings her song in front of Kell Brand, I couldn't decide, like, was she trying to stop him? Was she trying to cause the revolt against him? Or because it kind of seemed like it just solidified the people towards him. Like,
she was trying to, I think what the song was supposed to do was expose his lies to everyone, but she was stopped short.
Well, and to himself, right? It was supposed to like turn Kell Brand on himself.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Is she thought that it would, I guess, make him realize the error of his ways, something along those lines, and then he just kind of laughs at her.
I mean, she wasn't able to finish, right? Who knows what? Maybe the plan would have been successful if she was able to.
Okay, yeah.
Which, I guess so, yeah. But yeah, she was a cool character. I liked her. I liked, like you said, she was so enigmatic. You weren't really sure what was going on. It wasn't until Kell Brand says, "Oh, you're here to sing me a song," without her saying anything, and you could tell she was like shocked by it, that he knew. That was when I was like, okay, she's probably good. She was probably trying to do some good.
But the whole reason why she brought Sherin into it was so that Vaelin would come.
So she's really, really manipulative.
Yeah, it's hard to really characterize her as good or bad. I guess she's good. She's trying to stop evil, but she doesn't really care about what happens along the way.
And was she, I'm trying to get this straight, was she in league with Kell Brand's sister? Like they hatched the plan, Llewellyn, they hatched the plan together, right? To get Vaelin to come.
I don't think
was
so.
Am I remembering that wrong?
I don't remember
I
that.
think she was communicating with her, but I don't think that Lurlin was part of the plan.
Because Lurlin saw that Vaelin coming could end her brother's reign, and that's what she wanted, right? And then so she wanted Vaelin to come, and then but Kell Brand found out, and he's like, yeah, make him come, because he was really confident what was going to happen. So
Everyone wants Vaelin except for Sherin, of course.
Yeah. I thought I don't know why I'm remembering it this way. Maybe it's wrong, but I thought her and the Jade Princess were both like, yes, this is what we need to do to get Vaelin to come. Just thought, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember
I don't
that
know.
specifically.
But
I think we kind of touched on this. What do you think of Kell Brand and the stone? There's the moment where Kell Brand takes Vaelin and says, hey, touch the stone. Vaelin's like, no, I'm not going to do that. It sounds like you like the idea of the stone as or the entity behind the stone as an antagonist, but it just didn't quite get there, at least in this one.
Yeah, I didn't get there, and I was fine with it. Honestly, like if the middle part of the book were condensed and this were like a novella in between, like to leading to another like trilogy, I think that'd be awesome, where it's like, okay, we get this introduction that there's something even worse than the ally out there, and this guy is communicating with it, and he's basically, I mean, it's hard to know if Kell Brand is just being used as a force to get the new dark thing out, or if they're really more allies there, or what. And I really like the scene where he tells Vaelin, hey, get your blood song back, so that way you can be my like real adversary, because otherwise you're beneath me. And like that was really good tension of, is he gonna do it?
Seems like he could have done it, right? Like that was something where sometimes with these moments as a reader, you're like, I know the guy's not going to do that. He's noble, he's good, whatever. This one seemed like he could have.
It was set up in a way where you really wanted him to get the blood song back. So as a reader, you're like, is he lying? He seems kind of sincere. He's evil, but maybe you should just do it. Get the blood song back.
It did seem like a trick to me when I was reading it.
But then Sherin touched it and got healing powers from it. So I don't know. It seemed like a trick at the time, but then I couldn't really decide, because it seemed like Kell Brand really wanted Vaelin to be this awesome adversary to further his legend. So I don't know. But good writings, because I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah. Okay. What about the Obvar duel? This was the one where I was like, heck yeah, Vaelin's cool again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was cool. Also, I don't know.
He didn't have a song and he was able to win.
Yeah.
I mean, with help from his horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
He used some trickery, but hey, sometimes the protagonist needs to use some trickery too to win the day.
I will say the beginning of the end of this book, and I'm saying that starts with him meeting up with Kell Brand and the Jade Princess doing her song, and then that fails to do anything. And like from there, that's kind of the beginning of the end. I think that was like really well done, where the setup where it just made Vaelin seem even more powerless, while still in a cool way, not just like you were like, Stephen was very upset with Vaelin and Queen of Fire not having his blood song, just kind of being, you saw him as kind of useless.
I did.
Whereas this one, he's just as like powerless, but he doesn't seem as useless,
Yes.
Like
that is exactly what I meant.
Everything starts going wrong at this point. The Jade Princess's plan doesn't work. Vaelin does defeat the guy in a duel, but he almost dies from it. Like he would have died if Sherin didn't have her healing powers at that point. So like at the end, it's like, okay, Vaelin's cool, but also like it really sets it up for how are they going to defeat this? That's what it's like. This is a real antagonist here. We've got a real antagonist going. So I thought that was really well done.
Okay, then the book ends with a couple set pieces. The first one was a little more minor, where they go into these ghost shacks as they're trying to escape. Kind of had the feel of this like Western, we're hiding in the ghost town, we're trying to get away.
Yeah.
And then Norta comes through with the rescue. I thought that one was kind of fun. And then after that, we go into the whole like Helm's Deep siege type thing. And then that's really kind of the final climax to the book. Was this good action for you guys? I was pretty into it.
It wasn't as exciting as the moment with the Jade Princess. So I kind of felt like that was like the the peak of the action, and then everything that's
Mhm.
kind of
It's
smoothed
like
out.
descending
Yeah.
Really,
action.
even in the siege, when one of the gifted guys, reveals that he's the thorn in Laurelyn's side and brings down the wall and everything, like that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, but it was also like there wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't like reading where it's been built up for him to meet Kell Brand and see what the Jade Princess is going to do, and then that falling apart. This was more just like, okay, this is happening, and then this is happening. The Thorn part had some setup. You're right there, but I don't know. I wasn't like, I didn't dislike it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't super
Okay,
engaging.
fair enough. Fair enough.
It did. The siege also made Kell Brand a worse enemy, just with the way that he's brainwashed all sorts of people, even children.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just using them.
Yeah, and kind of and throwing away their lives. And
Yeah.
it was pretty creepy. Like just how confident the Jade Empire was that they would be able to hold. Uh, I mean, it's typical in fantasy where people are so overconfident. You're like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
of course they're gonna lose this battle.
But
But
also how confident Kell Brand was. This dude
He's
he's 100% confident about everything he does.
he's got a Euron Greyjoy feel to him.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, a little bit
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
oh, totally crazy. But it was I guess part of the battle. You're like, maybe they'll do this, like kind of wanting to hope, and then
Yeah.
all of your hope is for nothing, and the city once the wall is breached, it kind of they lose the city pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, those walls are always important. And then eventually they escape. Well, these Vaelin escapes. Shosai heroically stays behind to hold, and Vaelin escapes with his smugglers. And they go off, and he gets separated from the rest of our friends, and he's with Lin at the end, who is dying. And he says, drink my blood, take the blood song, and that's the end of the book. The dramatic cliffhanger there.
That was a
So
really good end too.
yeah.
That's really well. I feel like the climax with the Jade Princess was awesome, and then it was kind of this, okay, what's going on? I feel like the book is like about to end, and then with the Lin part, that was a really good way to end it.
So in this case, he does. It seems like he's choosing. We don't know exactly what's happening in the Black Song, but it's heavily implied here that he is choosing to regain his blood song by drinking his blood, whereas previously he denied Kell Brand touching the stone. So I guess he just trusts his friend more than Euron Greyjoy. But
Yeah.
yeah. So this is kind of the cliffhanger, and I think it's a good hook for another book.
Good hook for another book. I'm intrigued to keep reading because I want to know about this new dark entity. Why is it worse than the one who waits?
Mm-hmm.
How is it using Kell Brand? What's its plan there, and how is this going to affect the overall plot? I'm I don't really care about the Steel Horde taking over the rest of the Merchant King's land. Like that doesn't really mean anything to me. I was confused why the whole Darkblade thing was a big deal. I feel like Vaelin claiming the title Darkblade in the original trilogy wasn't as monumental as
It's like,
now.
why is Kell Brand so mad at him for taking this name?
And it's like, I mean, they speak different languages, right? So who even knows? Like, like what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm interested to kind of see where that goes. I thought it was kind of weird they brought that up and it wasn't really super explained why that's important or why
Yeah.
he needed to be why Kell Brand needed to be called the Dark Blade. But
He really liked the name.
yeah. Also excited to see Vaelin get his blood song back. I haven't read Black Song, but 99% confident he drinks that blood and it goes well for him. So
All right, so we talked through most of the plot. Let's do some quick hitters on a few more characters that we didn't discuss a whole lot. So just briefly, let's start with Norta. Norta was cool in the first trilogy, and then in this book, he's got the reset
depressed.
button pushed on him, and he comes in as a drunkard and terrible father,
Yeah.
and then he kind of like goes along with the book, very along with the plot. He's got a heroic moment where he comes into the ghost shack save. I don't know. How was
I
he?
feel like his potential was wasted. I feel like he either shouldn't have come or they shouldn't have focused so much on, I don't know. It was just kind of wasted time getting to know where he was at when he wasn't relevant in the book for so
Yeah.
long. Like someone else could have saved them at the end. But at the same time, like these are living characters probably in Anthony Ryan's head. So he's
Yeah.
probably like, I can't just leave these people
He
out.
reminds me of kind of like a depressed Matt Cawthon, where he's along on the journey, doesn't really want to be there. He's just not
Yeah.
behaving, and then he comes through when you need him to.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
way
feel
to
like,
bring to I think that's a good comparison for him. I always thought that Norta in the first trilogy was a really cool character. And in Bloodsong, he's like the noble bully, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where the protagonist has that person who's of noble blood or whatever, and just
He's the
bullies him.
Ambrose. He's the Ambrose or the Draco that gets redeemed.
Yeah, and he does get redeemed, and he ends up becoming one of Vaelin's best friends. And it's sort of the passage of time has not been good to him. I think his wife dies from cancer or something along those lines.
She dies from something. Yeah.
And that sort of cements his descent into the drink. And so this is he's being redeemed again, I guess. He was redeemed in the first trilogy where he was arrogant and didn't really care about anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was humbled and became he was there for his brothers. And so yeah, it's like you said, they hit the reset button on him. Now he needs to be redeemed again in this
Yeah.
book. And I don't know, redeeming a character twice, it's not super interesting to read.
What about
yeah.
Aless? Do we like Aless? She's Riva's adopted daughter, and in my notes I say she's the same character almost.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the point of Aless. I'm gonna be honest.
That's how it felt for most of the extended cast. Like they were highlighted in the beginning in a cool way, and then they were very underutilized. And it kind of felt like just
Yeah.
why. Like she had her moment where she was killing the gifted that Kell Brand was throwing at them at the last siege, right? Something like
Sure.
that. But other than that, she was just kind of this whiny brat. Like, why were you there for most of
Yeah.
it?
They've
Which
got
is just like how
moments.
Riva was in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like you say, the extended cast they've got moments, but they don't have enough of emotional depth for us as a reader to really care about them all that much. I don't know.
I don't think
I might have been upset if Norta died though.
Yeah, I would have been upset if he died because he wasn't really utilized well for a death. It would have been just like throwing him away.
Yeah.
But I don't think the underutilization of these extended cast characters hurt the book for me. I just don't think they were really a strength of it.
So we talked about Sherin a little bit, but mostly in the context of Vaelin trying to save her. And we did say that she was a good character and that she wasn't a damsel in distress. She was actually her own character. Let's get a little bit more into that. Did we like Sherin's role here and her character as she's gotten older, since we haven't seen her in Bloodsong for years?
I liked Vaelin and I liked Sherin, and the rest of the people were almost a distraction to me.
I liked her. I didn't understand her motivation of being on the Jade Princess's side so much. Like I didn't understand
Why she trusted her so much.
Yeah, why she trusted her and what did she see the importance of the mission being. Like Vaelin was like, the mission is save Sherin and kill this guy. Sherin's mission was support the Jade Princess. I mean, maybe she just was in agreement
she
that
was
Kell
just
Brand
the
needed
white
to
mage healer that got brought along
No.
because you need someone to put the buffs down and do the heal.
I will say her decision to obtain a gift of the dark was really cool. Like I'm excited to see how that plays out. That makes her character even more interesting.
Yeah, it's nice when you have characters that have to make these tough decisions and they don't always make like the noble decision is like, under no circumstances do I ever touch the stone and but she's making the tough one that she needs to save Vaelin, who she has some kind of feelings for, but we're not sure.
Well, I mean, her love interest got taken out, so
Yeah, but she didn't know that until
yeah,
the end. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you're
But I
saying
mean,
now
we
she's
as
single. Now she's
we as
single.
readers are, yeah.
Some people on the internet, I've seen this take that people hate the Sherin Vaelin romance because they're like, these guys are barely even together at all in the first book, and they're not even
Yeah.
that great together. And Sherin hates war, and so why does she love Vaelin, who she's constantly nagging because he's a great warrior? And they're just kind of annoyed by her for not just accepting, Vaelin's need to actually have to fight. Like he's got to fight these guys because they are evil.
I don't think she needs to do it, just accept him. I think she's a little more rational than, let's say, a Lyran character in this sense.
Okay, from
But
Stormlight Archive.
but I think it, like, that is something they need to address, either compromise on it or they're just not a good fit, you know?
Yeah.
And I would be okay with that bittersweet ending of they're just not a good fit for that reason, which I kind of felt like that was the ending in Bloodsong. So again, with the snip, snap, snip, snap. What's going to happen with Sherin? I don't know.
Okay, let's just talk briefly before we do our worst of the best. Let's talk about Lurelin and Kell Brand. We've kind of talked about them a little bit, but a little bit deeper of a look at these guys. So Lurelin had the framing story, the interludes, and this is how the first trilogy was done. And I kind of like this because then you can get just a broader view of the world. That's kind of like the interludes that Sanderson does in Stormlight
Yeah.
Archive. And then when you finally catch up with this, it's like, okay, I already know the story a little bit. And so you don't have to do the info dump because that's happening through someone else. And you get more of a, anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say, this is a long way of saying that I liked Lurelin and I liked the Steel Horde some, although I didn't always like the trope of these horse people. And I also like Kell Brand because he was crazy and made for a good villain.
Yeah, I really liked her points of view. I liked Kell Brand as a character because he is just this. He seems like an unstoppable force, and that's really interesting. And I like her more nuanced position of he's my brother, he's protected me, but also I've seen like how terrible this is going to be. Yeah, I really liked her and her interludes. How about you, Ryan?
It was a little confusing at the beginning trying to catch up with everything that was going on. But I do agree that she and Kell Brand both had an interesting relationship and in which he was looking out for her, but at the same time he wanted her when she left with Vaelin at the end. He was so upset by that.
Yeah.
Kell Brand was. And I don't know if like they really or I don't know if they really described, by they I mean Anthony Ryan really described it in such a way that I could really understand why he was so upset. I don't know if there was like some secret, like he some romance that he perceived with her, because I don't think they were actually brother and sister. Were they?
Are they not?
I thought they were. I could be wrong though. That
because he calls other people like brother. Didn't he call like Obvar brother? And
yeah, Vaelin calls everyone brother as well.
She had another brother too.
I'm pretty sure they are brother and sister, but I don't remember that exact detail.
Okay.
I was always trying to figure out, because she mentions like reconciling their relationship, realizing like trying to decide, did he ever really care for me, or was he always just using me and using his like, and part of me is like, how much of it was he did care for her and he's just been corrupted by this dark entity. And so maybe that point of him being so mad was like a little bit of the original Kell Brand bleeding through again, where he does care for his sister and this is a betrayal. Or maybe he just can't fathom her deciding to not be on his side.
I mean, if we're saying this is a little bit like Song of Ice and Fire, which is what we said in the non-spoiler trilogy, there could have been some kind of creepy love interest here. I think it'd be on Kell Brand's side because the dude is a little bit obsessed with his sister, and doesn't really have any other love interests. So maybe
She also is really powerful too. So he could be seeing a powerful tool
she's very useful.
leaving him, which like that's within his character to be upset solely for that reason.
Okay, that is the plot. Let's do our worst of the best segment. So Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are going to read this in, and the idea is we're gonna bring up one moment that we liked, but then there's like, gosh, that there was just something that kind of didn't quite sit right with us. So if you're listening to the podcast, they're gonna read that in now. And who wants to start?
I'll start.
Yeah, you start, Ryan.
For me, it wasn't a single moment, the worst of the best. I think the best is getting back to Vaelin and his story. And the worst is that you're used to Vaelin being so competent and steamrolling people and always making the right decision. And that is him to a lesser extent in this book, but without his blood song, I feel like his character is just I guess not quite where I want it to be. And I think it's 100% an interesting plot point for him to lose his blood song, but it's hard for me to read at the same time, thinking when's he going to get it back, or when is I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of expecting it to come back at some point.
So Ryan, your priorities in reading this book are 1, Sherin, 2, blood song.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'd say my worst of the best is just the extended cast of characters. Best because I really like these characters. I mean, some of them are new, like Alessa is new, but she is basically Riva. But Norta and like just like catching on Lynn and like catching up on these guys, really cool. But they're the worst of the best because they just weren't really used. And again, I don't think it was to the detraction of the quality of the book, but just as a reader going in who has, relationships with these characters and connected with them, I was just hoping for more.
Okay, mine is, and I'm sorry, Ryan, but mine is the Sherin Vaelin romance. And it's the best because we are, for whatever reason, just suckers for these sappy romance plots. I mean, not that the romance plot was terrible, but these fantasy romance plots are always fun to read. I didn't like that her love interest, her previous love interest, Sho Sai, was just killed at the end, making her single. I thought that was just kind of like
a cop out.
Yeah, like, oh, there's this problem, right? Like she loves this other guy, and so what are we gonna do? We're just gonna kill him, and then now she's single, and we're gonna kill him in a cool way where he's heroically holding the back door, right, and letting Vaelin escape. It's interesting, but I mean the way the plot went with that was interesting, but just the fact that it now makes Sherin available to some extent kind of ruins maybe not ruins, but it just kind of cheapens that whole plot line a little bit for me.
I agree with that. I did like the tension because it didn't even seem like she was really committed to him either.
Right. He had proposed marriage a few times or something like that, and she was always like, no. But
it wasn't. There's some question of, was she doing that because that's what was best for him? Because I think if he married a foreigner, wouldn't he lose status or something bad was going to happen to him?
Yeah, they made it vague as to whether she wasn't really into him, thus giving the Vaelin Sherin shippers hope, or whether it was because she really did love him and it was the best thing for him. It made this nice tension, and like you said, it is kind of a, I don't know, disappointing that you don't get to see that tension continued. There needs to be resolution, but also the tension is why we read, right?
All right, thanks for listening to our full spoiler review of The Wolf's Call. When we get to the Black Song, we will review that as well. If you like Phantology, you can find more at www.phantologybooks.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/phantology_books. And if you want to talk with us, you can join our Discord server. The links are in the video description and podcast description below, wherever you're finding this content. And we'd love to have you chat and let us know what you think about the book, because while we know our opinions are correct, there are other ways of thinking as well.
Join us on our next journey with Vaelin Al Sorna.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.